Hey crew, Arturo Spraycasso here. So we're going to be doing something a little bit more unique, and that's what we do here at Spraycasso Studios. And this is a technique that I use that I haven't really talked much about, but it's something that I do to experiment, something to challenge myself. So I have here a painting pad, and on it I've already started and I've created or began some basic paintings. They don't have to be too complex, they just have to be rather colorful. I'll do some silhouette layers, and then what I do is I come back later on and I add highlights, I'll add the trees, I'll add layers little bit by little bit, and I'll keep adding to it until the painting is done. Now the reason I do it this way is because it doesn't put a whole lot of pressure on me to create one painting like 30 minutes it has to be done. No, it kind of helps me to kind of come back and visualize and see if I can take the painting in a different style. So with that being said, let's get started. As you know, I've already started on this painting. The layers are dry to the touch completely, and now I'm gonna add some additional layers. So you know what, I think I'm gonna add, just taking a look at it, we're gonna take our handy dandy black, just take a little bit and spray it here. So guys, I've gotten a lot of wonderful questions and comments about my spray paints, the Spraycasso spray paint brands. Crew, unfortunately, due to the COVID virus, it put a lot of things on hold, and you'll see that with a lot of other spray paint manufacturers. So bear with me guys as we get the paints back online. It's gonna take a little while, but what can we do about it, right? We're all in it together. All right, so I went ahead and I added some black, but as you can see, we already have some black in the background. So I don't need to add another layer of black. Maybe we can do a nice little layer of light blue. So I'm just gonna take my light blue. I'm gonna spray it right here. Don't forget to always shake and pre-spray. Look at the difference. See, look at that. So it's always very important to pre-spray. A little bit of light blue. So I like these vibrant colors, these pastel colors. I like this. Hold on a second. You know what we can add? I'm gonna add a little bit of a fluorescent color to make a nice little purple. Look at that. I'm gonna add a little bit more blue, light blue. And with our handy dandy sea sponge, we're just gonna blend that together and we get that nice, rich, bright purple. So I like that. I'm gonna add a little bit of that. Perhaps I'm gonna add it to some of the plants that we already have here. Well, if it's too much, always practice off on the side and see what it's gonna look like. Bam, 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 bam. You know what? I think that's a little too much sponge for it. So I'm gonna remove some of this sponge. I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna add a few tap, 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 little shrubs there in the background. Look at that. Perhaps we can add some right here. It's just little taps, quick taps. Now, the two most prominent colors in this painting is light blue and this fluorescent pink. So I'm gonna stick with those colors. Tap, 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 tap. Now, as you can see, I'm just mixing some of our blue and our fluorescent, going back and forth. Just gonna add maybe a little bit more here. Now look, this is starting to look a little bit more purple than this one up here, which is, it's okay. It adds to the effect. This is something that sometimes I'm asked, and it's like, did you mean to do that? Sometimes. Other times, it'll just come out just the way that it did right now. And you just work with it. You're like, well, okay, this is what I have to work with. So I'm just going to work with it and move forward. Don't get stuck too much into the idea of, oh, that's not what I had planned. I don't know what I'm going to do now. Don't ever get stuck with that. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, 90% of my paintings, they're never planned. I just start like I'm doing right now. Just adding some colors, and the painting will paint itself. Literally. I know people have a hard time when I say that. But if you give it enough room, and you let it, it'll start to take different shapes, and you know, a happy little mistake may become a rock, as my old predecessor on PBS would used to say, right? All right, so we're gonna now see it's starting to look more blue because I've already used most of the purple that was on there. So this next round of shrubs are gonna be a little bit more blue. Still, it looks nice. I like it. So I'm gonna keep working with it. Just, right? They say if life gives you lemons, get a shot of tequila and... No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Make lemonade. Make lemonade for sure. Mike's Hard Lemonade. Today's episode was brought to you by... No, I'm just kidding, guys. So just... That's the trick to everything. You just keep working on it. Keep working on it. Now what you can do here too with the sponge, since you have a little bit of that blue, let's go back and forth and add some little highlights. Look at that. And these are like those little purple, bluish highlights. Notice how much that brought up to the painting. I'm gonna add a little bit more right here. I'm gonna add some right here on the... Start running out. I'm just gonna tap into some more. Very gently. You want to do this very gently. Oh, went a little too strong there. That's fine. Everything is correctable. All right. I like the way this is coming out. I really do. I'm gonna add... Let's see. What kind of colors do we want to add to this? You know what? I believe we need some white. So where do I have my white? You know, guys, you'd think by now I'd be prepared. Nah, that takes away from the fun. Okay, I'm gonna take my white, shake it, pre-spray it. I'm gonna add a little bit of that white right here. Now, you can get a nice little sea sponge, just the edge. I'm gonna try and just tap here on the sides. Now, as you can see, our techniques have improved greatly since we first started doing spray painting, right? So, and the reason is because as we increase our techniques and our knowledge of the spray paint, then we start to evolve. And part of that evolvement is using different tools. I know when I first started with spray painting, guys, we couldn't do anything more than just space sceneries. Okay, here, I'm still not using brushes. Well, not all the time. This is as close as brushes that I use, and that's the rubber tip tools. And so we use a little bit of those. Tap, 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 tap. That's just creating a nice little reflective layer on our painting. Look at that. That's how you do that. So another neat little tool is, check this out. This is where we have our white. So I'm gonna mix a little bit of our light blue. You remember this guy? I'll blend these two together. I'm gonna add some highlights. Tap, 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 tap. Look at that. Doesn't require a whole lot of tapping, just very gently. Now, I have seen some people that kind of psych out with highlights. You want to be careful with that. Very careful. Usually go on the edges, maybe just a little bit there. Maybe up here a little bit, see? Now the sponge will give you a very neat glowing effect. Once it starts to get a little bit drier, you can come up here. Go up and down a few times and it gives you this nice little glowing effect. And you guys have seen me do this in some of my other or latest paintings. Gotten a lot of wonderful questions about it. Okay, well, that's how you do that. Get your little sponge, a few taps, a few smears, because you have to smear the paint as well, and you get that nice little effect. Now another thing that I like to do that maybe you guys don't see me do a whole lot, let me find my clear coat. Perfect. Alright, so we're gonna take our clear. I like to keep the painting, not all the time, but like in layers like these, nice and moist. So there's a little bit of dirt and debris, you want to get that off your painting. Alright, get our clear coat and go over it. That also, what it does, not only does it make your colors more vibrant, it gives it a nice protective coating, and the colors will also blend better. So if you notice up here where we had added some of those highlights, noted how the colors started to blend, giving you a little more realistic looking effects. Now what I like to do is I take my handy dandy Spraycasso tool here and I go over it a few times, and this helps the blending process. Alright, now I like where this is turning. I like this. Obviously the more complicated the painting, you know, the more layers that we want to involve. So I do want to involve a couple more layers. I'm gonna add the Spraycasso funnel, guys. You know, I get a lot of questions. How do you do the trees? How do you do this? And I keep saying the funnel. The funnel. Go to the website, either spraycasso.com or YouTube, and look up Arturo Spraycasso or Spraycasso Studios, and you'll find my page. There is a link on how to create these. I used to get them professionally made with plastic. You know what? It's a lot cheaper if I just teach you how to make your own, and you guys can go out there and, you know, just takes a little bit of experimentation, some duct tape, and you guys can create something like this in no time. No time. Plus it saves me thousands and thousands of dollars of having it manufactured. Alright, here we go. We're gonna create a nice little tree there. Now, a lot of people like to create these really thick trees, right? I don't always create my trees really thick. I'll go through here and I'll add some branches maybe. But I keep the trunks thin because not always, this is a pretty good size. I think this is a, hold on, let me let you know, 12 by 16. All right, so this is a 12 by 16, so not always do I have a lot of time. So if I make my trees really big, the trees that I make closer have to be bigger than those. So I keep my trees nice and thin. Something to keep in mind. Because as the trees get closer to you, they tend to get thicker, bigger. They're closer to you. Ergo, closer to you. Alright, so I like that. I don't know if I want to cover that in the background, but I think I might need to add, you know what, maybe we'll add a tree here. Coming from here. Right smack out of here. Come on. That'll happen sometimes. You just add a few more sprays. Now you don't want to do too much where you'll get a big splatter of paint, so practice. Boom. Sound effects work for me. I definitely recommend you try it. Alright, so now we have another tree there. This tree, I'm going to make it a little bit thicker because it's closer than the tree that I just poured. So, alright, there it is. Obviously, guys, think of this. If I add a tree right here, right square in the middle, that tree can't be as thin as these guys. So it's going to have to be a little bit thicker. Don't worry, I'm not going to do that. I think it'll ruin some of what we got going on here. But it's something to think about. So with that being said, you know what? We can help these layers dry. How? Well, if you have a hair dryer, in this case, I happen to have one here. This is an industrial heat gun, and what it does is it helps the layers dry a little bit faster. So when I first started spray painting back in 1997, and then really got started in 99 when I got more serious about it. I used to take a hair dryer with me all the time, so I'd do a couple of layers and then I'd get started on another painting, and I had a buddy of mine who would help me to speed things up by him doing this while I was working on a different painting. So something to keep in mind. Now obviously you don't want to keep the heat gun right on it. It'll ruin your painting, but it'll help speed things up. Alright, we're going to put that right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of sea sponge. There you go. I'm going to add a little bit of black to create another silhouette layer. Tap, 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 tap. You want it nice and soaked. But Spray, what are you doing? Well, we are creating some tree leaves. Yup. Don't worry if they don't all match. We'll make sure we add some branches too. Ensure that we don't have some floating tree leaves. But this is how you do it. Now don't be afraid to overlap layers. Gotta overlap them, guys. It makes them more realistic. Alright, look at that. Alright, so I think, let's see, do we still have some paint in here? Nope. We're gonna add a little bit. And notice what I'm doing here. I get my spray and then I practice. You don't want to do this on your painting. You want to practice first. Kind of get a feel of what the paint is going to look like when you bring it up. Alright, I'm going to add another tree right here. And then I'm going to add some branches. Look at that. Boop. Bam. Alright. Make this one a little bit bigger, thicker. Okay, we're gonna do the same over here. Right. So, I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. And I think that's it, just a little bit of blue. I'm gonna use my handy dandy Spraycasso tool. Just gonna tip the edge, or dip the edge. And I'm just gonna tap right here, tap. It's gonna go along the edges. And blend those into the tree. Now you can also use a sponge. You have to be very careful though, because the sponge is not as straight as your tool. So sometimes you'll get these little stragglers, and you go in to put a nice little straight line and you'll get, you know, stragglers everywhere. Hopefully we don't get any here, but look right here. I'm just gonna go all the way up. So you do have to be very careful. Yes, it's risky, but it pays off. Like I said, you just have to practice. Either practice here on the side, or if you're brave. There we go. Look. And like I said, this is also the technique that I use to create glowing effect, like it's glowing, right? So I'll tap into a little bit of white, maybe some light blue. You mix those together. And then you go over here, and this is how you add your highlights. So we're going to do that throughout our painting. We're going to add some more highlights on this tree. And then on our tree leaves, we can do a nice little combination like we did earlier. where we have our blue, our fluorescent, and we mix those together to create that purple. So we can create some purple tree leaves. Maybe we'll have a combination of purple and blue, just like we did down here. So we can go tap, 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 tap. You want to make sure that some of those taps overlap your tree trunks here. Okay, just like that. Look at that. All right, so we're going to do the same thing on this tree over here. All right, crew, you're going to need a clean sea sponge. Well, I mean, we're not going to use this end, we're going to use this end. So this is pretty clean. I'm going to use a little bit of white. Oh, I'm running out. Now, this is very important. You're going to want to tap into it. And then you're going to want to use most of it off on the side somewhere. There we go. Okay. Once it's almost completely out, we're going to come in and we're going to create some highlights. Look at that. This will give us the effect of light being bounced off the plants. See that? Now we're going to want to do that to the water as well. With that. Okay, so that gives you a very neat effect. It makes it look like there's light and it's bouncing off of different items. It could be your plants, it could be your rocks. You do have to be very careful with it. And it is something that you're going to have to practice with. Right, so we're going to do that throughout. Our highlighted areas. Alright crew, so we've added some highlights. We went with our sponge and added some lighting effects. Now, I'm gonna add the finishing touch. I've been using the white a lot, so I am almost out. I think I have enough. Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. Let me try that again. Add a little bit more. Yep, I think I've used all my white. Well, that's no problem. We're gonna take our handy dandy Spraycasso tool. I'm gonna make sure that it is not contaminated. What do I mean by that? I mean that there's no other colors. I don't want to do this on top of the painting, so I'm doing it right here. I'm just gonna go ahead and... The beauty about this tool is that it is easily cleaned. And I should follow my own advice and clean it as soon as I'm done using it, but I am a rebel that way. Alright, so now then that we have this, we're gonna touch into some white here, and we want plenty. I'm gonna have to be careful here. Oh, got a nice little droplet. Maybe it's a moon, maybe it's a bright star. It can be whatever you guys want it to be, but I love the fact that that just adds a little bit of that realism. Now when you add a little bit of clear coat to your painting, you'll see this a lot. you'll see some of the stars that you've added before will dissipate. So what I do is I go back through here, and right where they disappear, I add a little bit of white on top of that, and it just brings it out, and it makes it look like he's got this nice little glowing effect going on. Now you have to be careful with it. I try to just tap and remove, tap and remove. It gives us a better effect. I did the same thing with the water down here. Wherever you want to create a nice little effect like it's glowing, you just tap into some white, tap on there. And if you, I mean, the more circle, sorry, the better it looks. So you want to really try and go in there and create just a little dot. You don't want to smear it or anything like that, because it'll look a little bit weird. So go throughout your water, and then just little effects like that. Now sometimes what I do as well, up here on the rocks or on the trees, I'll just add a nice little dot, make it look like it's a nice little glow effect. But there it is, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's tutorial. I had a great time. All right, let's sign our painting. Make sure it works. Spraycasso. What is this? 2020, so we'll do 9/6/20. All right, crew, there it is. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, keep those cans shaking. We'll see you guys soon.